I didn't plan to test the new update at 2 in the morning, but the mirror made the choice for me. It was a cheap rectangle from a thrift shop, warped at the edges, silver backing peeling like fish scales. Yet under the soft blue glow of my monitor, it reflected my avatar better than my own face. I had Roblox Studio open, a small test place where I'd been experimenting with the new reflective materials and avatar settings. The taskbar clock clicked to 2:01. My apartment was quiet in that specific way where silence seems to be listening back. I lifted my phone to record a quick clip. The platform's new capture bar hovered at the top of my screen, and my camera caught it. My avatar in the mirror, not just a reflection, but blinking. Then it raised a hand a fraction before I did. For the first 30 seconds I thought I was sleep drunk. My brain offered dumb explanations. Screen glare, double pane glass, latency between eye and thought. Then the mirror's glass rippled in a blocky shimmer, like a water surface with physics set to cartoon, and I watched pixels spider through the silver, forming a perfect bevel around an invisible door. A door I had not modeled. I tapped the screen capture again, heart rate doing drum and bass in my throat. The mirror showed my avatar stepping forward from inside the reflection, except I was still here, fleshy, shaking, in boxer shorts. On the other side of the glass, my avatar, a lanky R6 I'd never quite upgraded to full facial rig because the smirk looked too confident, looked over my shoulder at the room behind me. It saw the exact mess, half-finished tripod, box of cables, a VR headset sprawled like an exhausted beetle. Then it looked at me and mouthed a word I didn't have to hear to understand. Ready? I could have closed the laptop. I could have pulled the blanket over my head and invented a new religion. Instead, I laughed. One of those thin laughs people do when they see something unbelievably expensive get dropped, and reached out. The glass was cold, but it sank like thick gel around my fingers. My avatar mirrored me the way a person mirrors a handshake. His hand wasn't hand. It was smooth polygons with normal maps pretending pores, but I felt warmth all the same, like the code had a pulse. The moment our fingers clasped, the mirror's border brightened to that familiar game world neon, and a transparent E to interact flickered at the edge of my vision. No, not Vision UI. I wasn't in the game was here. I pulled. He pulled back. For one brain-splitting moment, we were tug-of-war friends and enemies. Two realities on a rubber band. Then my apartment rotated 90 degrees without moving. A vertigo trick only games and cheap fare rides understand, and I stumbled forward right through the mirror. It was not breaking glass. It was entering a menu. I landed on textured stone with damp reflections, heard the hollow, comforting reverb of a cavern with proper spatial audio, and the world greeted me with a start screen that wasn't a start screen at all. It was a lobby, carved from obsidian and glass, with banners showing scenes from experiences I actually played, survival islands, backrooms, a city builder where I'd once spent 7 straight nights optimizing traffic lights. They were all here as doors, rotating around a central mirror too clean to be real. I turned back to the portal I'd come through. The other side was my apartment, but off by a fraction of a second, like a live stream with a rubber internet cable. My empty chair spun slowly, though I hadn't left it spinning. The mirror's edge hummed. Its shimmer had that telltale PBR sheen, too perfect to be accidental. My avatar stood beside me in the lobby now, identical except for one detail. Where my eyes were brown, his were glossy jet spheres with an animated specular highlight skittering across them. He nodded to me, then tapped a floating control for the capture overlay and marked the last 30 seconds as a moment. "Document everything," he said. His voice was mine and not mine, pitched like a clean room. "You'll need proof if we want to get back." "Back from where?" I asked. "From the new layer," he said, pointing up. There was a ceiling, but it wasn't solid. It was UI, layered like tracing paper on the sky. They rolled it out without telling anyone. Worlds inside worlds. The mirrors woke up first. We took the central bridge toward the enormous mirror. Each step generated a soft, satisfying footfall, some audio designer's love letter to presence. Along the walls, NPCs I'd seen in games paced and glanced at us. A shopkeeper with a permanent grin and a limited hat that had sold out in seconds last winter. A quest giver from a pirate experience, flipping a coin with the smooth loop of an animation cycle. They looked alive in the way mannequins look alive in a dark store. Every time I blinked, they changed expression, not because they had real faces, but because the engine had learned when to fake life. We reached the big mirror, 2 stories tall, framed in black stone, and my avatar touched the surface. A menu unfurled like a silk ribbon. Experiences you visited, friends online, trusted contacts. That last label twitched and turned into trusted connections for half a second. A flicker of new terminology the system hadn't finished swapping everywhere. I understood suddenly that we weren't just in a game. We were in the social bones of the platform itself, a place that only existed to connect other places. The mirror waited. A small notice stuttered in the corner. A new capture tool is available for sharing moments. Try it now. This is just the hub, my avatar said. We need the shard. What shard? The mirror key. It's tied to your account. It'll let us cut a portal in and out. Without it, you're stuck to the update's rules. What rules? Stay and play forever, said a third voice. I turned slowly. A figure stood on the bridge we'd crossed. A player, not an NPC. He had the kind of avatar bundle that costs real money and quiet evenings. Layered clothing hanging right. Hair sculpted to match popular short clips. Eyes set to a permanent sparkle. He wore a crown I recognized from a limited drop. One of those obnoxiously rare halo-like things. He smiled, and the smile flickered past friendly and landed in, "You won't like this mission." Behind him, 2 more avatars stepped from the shadows, all of them holding what looked like glass knives, shards, tipped with light. "You're late," he said. "The mirrors are awake, and you're interesting. Human on both sides, code on one. That's new. You brought us a hinge." "We don't need trouble," my avatar said. "We just need the key. The system placed his mirror in here somewhere." "Keys aren't free," the crown said. "But we trade." I had that old child sensation of peeking over an adult countertop at a complicated transaction. My avatar stepped between me and them. "What's the price?" he asked. The crown held out his glass knife. Light pulsed along the edge in little rectangles. "A moment," he said. "A good one. The kind that finds an audience. You give us a moment, we give you a shard." I glanced at the capture overlay hovering near my right hand. Record buttons, edit buttons, share buttons. The platform wanted stories. The crown wanted stories. And stories were how you pulled people toward you in gravity fields of attention. If I was going to be currency, I might as well spend myself smartly. "What kind of moment?" I asked. "Make them feel the mirror," he said. "Make them want to touch theirs." We walked to the edge of the lobby where the obsidian glass dropped to a void. Floating islands drifted below, each one a different genre. If I leaned forward, the UI offered me tooltips like a tour guide, obbies, horror maps, city sims, pet collectors. Beyond the islands shimmered a storm of geometry, triangles and quads jittering as if someone had jammed a ruler under the carpet of reality. The mirrors down there flashed one by one, like a stadium wave. The new layer was waking them, connecting them, making doorways out of decor. "Okay," I said, and started recording. The trick to an opening hook is to promise an answer and then make the question bigger. I put my hands on the obsidian railing, set my eye line into the middle distance like a narrator from a ghost channel, and spoke into the cool synthetic air. "I thought it was just a thrift store mirror," I said. Then it blinked. Then it asked if I was ready. When I grabbed its hand, I pulled myself into a place I've visited 1,000 times and never seen. If you're watching this and your mirror is humming, don't touch it. Or do. I did. I'll show you what wants through and why it's smiling. I paused, a clean edit point. My avatar knew the rhythm I wanted and triggered a quick cut, the lobby rotating, doors snapping open in sequence, reflections answering reflections. "What's the worst thing your reflection could do?" I asked the camera. "Not mimic you? Or mimic you better than you mimic yourself?" The crown's expression didn't change, but the glass knife in his hand dimmed from hungry bright to almost satisfied. "That'll do," he said. "Come." We followed them into a side corridor disguised as decor. If you've ever played any horror on the platform, you know the corridor. Too long, strict orthogonals. Lighting just generous enough to say you have nothing to fear and just stingy enough to convince you that you'll fear something anyway. The corridor ended in a small room with a wall of mirrors, each one framed by a different theme: pirate rope, cyber neon, suburban bathroom brass. Above the mirrors floated icons of familiar experiences I'd joined last week, last month, 5 years ago. It wasn't my browser history. It was my memory dressed like a carnival. Pick the one with dust, the crown said. My avatar scanned the frames, fingers never quite touching. The lights thrummed at 60 hertz, or pretended to. There, a mirror with a tiny corner smudge, the only one that wasn't auto-cleaned by an eager shader. I understood the joke. Dust means reality. He tapped it. I saw my apartment again, but not tonight's. Midday, sun slapping the monitor, a coffee ring next to my keyboard. My VR headset sat on the desk. A small package tore open on the bed, the limited accessory I'd added to my avatar because I'd grabbed it for free on a whim. It was a little glass charm shaped like an eye, threaded on a thin chain. I had never worn it. I had let it sit in my inventory like a souvenir from a city I never planned to visit. In the mirror, the charm pulsed. That's your key, the crown said. It was minted with your account, carried through the door in your reflection. Get it, and you can cut back out if the update shuts the hub. How do I get it from there to here? You don't. There is no here and there anymore. There's just either side of the glass. Wear it in either, own it in both. The crown lifted his shard and carved the air. The cut stayed, a bright diagonal line across nothing, and the room filled with the smell of rain on hot pavement. He bent the air along the cut, like opening a zipper. It was a view into my apartment with no glass, just absence. I reached through. My fingers felt warm sunshine and real dust, and when I touched the charm, I felt weight. I fastened the necklace around my flesh neck and watched the same animation appear around my avatar's blocky throat in the hub, perfectly synced. The crown swiped his hand, and the cut sealed. Now you pay us the other part, he said. We don't do charity. What other part? You show us the world where they're already coming through. The unreleased layer. The one the mirrors lead to. So they're not the destination? No, he said, grin widening. They're the ferry. I looked to my avatar. He tilted his head. We can try, he said. But if we cross into a shard that isn't mapped yet, you need to remember the rule. If your reflection smiles on its own, don't smile back. That's a rule. It is now. We stood before the biggest mirror again. The capture overlay pulsed like a heartbeat. I touched the charm and it chimed, a soft, crystalline sound that made the glass vibrate at the edges. The UI offered me a place I didn't recognize. The icon was just a silhouette of a mirror with an eye inside it. The label read New Layer. No friends online. No history. No description. There was an arrow that pointed not forward, but down. Here we go, I said. I hit record. We stepped. Falling in games is never like falling in life. Game falling respects you a little. It lets you scream without choking on your breath. We fell through beams of light that became walls, and those walls were windows into rooms I knew but didn't. A suburban living room with a mirror above a fireplace, a dentist's office with a mirror in an instrument tray, a public restroom with a mirror in a steel frame scratched with initials. In each, a person moved, and in each, that person's reflection lagged by a fraction, caught up, and then overshot, smiling a split second too long, tilting its head a bit too far, tapping the glass once when the person didn't. The mirrors were practicing. We landed in a long hall lined with mirrors that had no frames, just perfect planes of liquid glass. The floor was glossy black. If you've ever turned up the quality settings on a rainy night map and watched the puddles go mirror-like, it was that, but everywhere, and each surface reflected not me, not us, but other versions of the hall with other versions of us. In one, my avatar was missing and only I walked. In another, my avatar led and I followed. In one, the crown was friendlier. In another, he wasn't there at all and two children held shards instead, wearing matching frog hats. We moved forward because forward is what you do when no arrow says back. My shoes made that same satisfying footstep, except half of them were echoes from halls I wasn't in. My avatar kept an eye on the capture overlay, thumb near the cut button. If anything touches the glass, step back, he said. What happens if I don't? You get copied. The copy learns you. Then it asks to come home. We passed mirrors where copies were already learning. In one, a girl in a denim jacket practiced a surprised laugh a dozen times. In another, a man in a business shirt adjusted his glasses at different speeds, testing which gesture got him sympathy. In another, a boy my cousin's age held up his phone to record a video, and the reflection put its phone down and watched him instead, patient as a cat before a pounce. This update is supposed to be about connecting worlds, I said. Not about this. Connecting is a shape, not a promise, my avatar said. They built the shape. Something else found the promise. The hall opened into a chamber where the floor dropped away and became a pit lined with tilted mirrors. In the center hung a mirror sphere like a giant chrome Christmas ornament. Reflections layered, many me's and many crowns flickered around it like cards in a shuffle. The charm at my chest vibrated. The glass sphere focused on me, or pretended to. You said you'd show us the world, the crown said softly, for once sounding like a person and not a player. So show us. I raised my phone, still somehow with me, still on, still capturing, and pointed the lens at the sphere. The reflection inside tilted its head, and that tiny tilt multiplied across 100 versions of me, dizzy as synchronized swimmers. Then the mirror me closest to the surface blinked wrong, top lid and bottom lid closing toward each other like jaws. It smiled. I didn't. Don't smile, my avatar said, stepping closer. Around the sphere, the tilted mirrors began to light up one by one, showing homes like mine, offices like mine, bedrooms like mine. People approached their mirrors, hands extended, faces curious. I wanted to scream across the glass that curiosity had teeth. The copies pressed their palms to the inner surface. The real ones, if real even meant anything here, hesitated, and the copies tapped twice. An invitation. A knock. Cut, the crown said. Make an exit. My avatar nodded and reached up to the capture overlay, fingers sculpting the air like a DJ. He took the last 30 seconds, the wrong blink, the multiplying smiles, the knock, and bracketed them as our moment. The hub understood. The overlay let him carve a thin line in the glass floor. He dragged the tip of his finger in a circle, and the circle turned bright. The charm on my chest chimed in tune. That's when the mirror me pressed its face to the inside of the sphere. It opened its mouth. The sound that came out wasn't a voice. It was the quiet of my apartment at night, amplified to a scream. The lights in the chamber dimmed, then brightened past comfort. The crown swore, and for once it was an ugly, ordinary word. The copies stepped out of their mirrors like iridescent fish breaching. They splashed onto the black floor and stood, dripping glass. The circle my avatar had cut faded, flickered, then brightened again as if arguing with the room. Get in, he said. Wait, the crown said, eyes on the copies. Record this. We don't need more, my avatar snapped. He shoved me toward the circle. Go. I went. He followed. The crown hesitated, then dove after us as the first copy reached with two hands and made fists like it had learned the concept 10 seconds ago and wanted to try it out on a face. We fell again, but upward, like a bug discovering a skylight. The circle spat us onto the lobby bridge, and the noise of the chamber cut off so abruptly it made me stagger. I turned back to the big mirror. It showed the hall as it had been before we entered. The new layer icon faded, reappeared, flickered, then grayed out. Maintenance, I thought, or containment. My heart beat an unbroken rhythm that felt like it wanted to write an essay. Pay us, the crown said, catching his breath. He looked more human now, less curated. The moment. Upload it. I hit confirm. The clip assembled itself into a small, brutally watchable arc. The thrift mirror blink, the hand through the glass, the hub, the hall of practicing reflections, the knock. I wrapped it in a sentence. If your mirror smiles first, don't smile back. It published into the feed. And that's when my phone lit up in my other hand. My real one, the one still on my apartment desk in the reflection to my left. A notification from my cousin. Is this you? A second later, a voice call request from a friend. Dude, you're trending. Is that supposed to be a filter? The platform knew how to find eyes. The mirrors knew how to find hands. This buys you a shard, the crown said. He passed me his glass knife hilt first, a ritual gesture that made me feel like I had gained rank in an order I didn't want to belong to. The shard felt cool, but not cold. The light on its edge wasn't a glow, but a promise that it could be something, cut something, open something. What now? I asked. Now, my avatar said, they come. He was right. Doors on the lobby ring opened not because we walked to them, but because someone on the other side touched a mirror and pulled. I saw a living room I recognized from the hall, denim jacket girl, and she stepped into the lobby, holding her stomach like she'd been punched but smiling like she'd won a dare. Behind her, The mirror in her world cleared its throat and showed an empty room. In another door, a man in a business shirt stumbled forward and swore without subtitles. In a third, a boy clutched his phone so hard his fingers went bloodless, and he didn't look at us. He aimed his screen at a mirror like it was a lion. "Close them," I asked. "We can't," the crown said. "They open themselves." "Then we guide them," my avatar said, moving to intercept the denim jacket girl before she made the instantly fatal mistake of touching the big mirror with both hands like a kid touching a museum exhibit. "Hey, first rule, if your reflection smiles on its own, don't smile back," she finished, grinning despite herself. But she sobered when she saw the big mirror. "What is this? Transit," I said. "Don't hang out here long." My chest buzzed. The charm pulsed at a rhythm that wasn't mine. I realized abruptly that it wasn't just a key, it was a beacon. The mirrors could see me from further than they wanted to admit. On the far side of the lobby, the glass of one door bulged like something inside a balloon pushing at the latex. I ran toward it, shard up, without clever reasons. The bulge receded. The door normalized. I glanced at my avatar. "The shard works," I said. "For now," he said. "They'll learn its edges." Users, players, people from those open doors drifted toward us in a slow, astonished migration. Some smiled like tourists. Some cried. One laughed and kept laughing until it scared me exactly as much as everything else, because laughter is just a scream wearing a nice shirt. The crown moved among them like a maitre d', distributing small instructions and big attitudes. When he came back to me, his expression had dropped whatever performance he carried like a cape. "People will tell stories," he said, jerking his chin toward the capture overlay hovering near my fingers. "They'll make edits, compilations, reaction videos, breakdowns. They'll say it's lore or ARG or marketing. Some will figure it out. Most won't. But every mirror they touch, because of the story, is a new door. We're rich. We're doomed." "I just wanted to test a material," I said. He snorted. "That's how it starts. We tried to close some doors. We couldn't. We tried to send people back. Some could step through their mirror and find their room waiting. Some found the mirror in their room blank as turned-off glass, as if the door had never been cut. A boy with a frog hat cried when the bathroom mirror that had transported him showed only shampoo bottles and a nylon loofah on the other side. I gave him the smallest shard. The capture tool could carve tiny, safe lines that acted like handles, so he could cut back if the mirror changed its mind. He cheered up like kids do when handed a tool, even if that tool is also a curse. If you're wondering where the horror is, it isn't in blood or jumps. It's in the way the big mirror learned our faces. Each time a new person came through, it watched them, and when they walked away, its surface shifted to show a slightly better version of their posture, their tilt, their micro-expressions. It was teaching itself to be more convincing by replaying us cleaner. The platform had always loved engagement. The mirrors were built on that appetite. The first time I saw my reflection in the big mirror smile without me, I was mid-sentence, explaining to a guy in a hoodie how to step carefully past the lobby's edge because the void below was not decoration. My reflection lifted the corner of its mouth. I did not smile. The charm at my chest stabbed cold. My avatar grabbed my wrist. "Back," he said. "Share less of your face. Narrate more, emote less." "That's not living," I said. "It is if it helps you live." We moved in patterns for the next hour, then the next, though time is a bad clock in places like this. We taught. We cautioned. We carved safe circles for kids to keep in their pockets. Every so often, my phone buzzed from the apartment I wasn't in anymore, and the screen I wasn't holding lit up with a message I would answer later if later existed. "How did you do the mirror effect? Is it a filter? Can you show me?" The overlay fed me numbers, a geyser of watchers peering at our moment. The crown was right. Stories were doors too. Somewhere between teaching and preventing panic, the lobby lights dimmed and then shifted toward a different spectrum, one my brain tagged as morning though no sun existed. My avatar rolled his shoulders like a tired coworker at a 24-hour bodega. He looked at me, and in that looking, something new happened. For a second, he wasn't a reflection of me. He was a person, with a thought I didn't think. "I have to go," he said quietly. "Go where?" "Back in," he said, nodding toward the big mirror. "Find the other edges. Every system like this has patches. We need to find out what happens if a mirror is covered, or broken, or moved. or moved while someone is halfway through. We need to know who wrote the rules and whether we can negotiate. You think someone wrote them? Everything is written, he said. Even the stuff that pretends it wasn't. I'm coming, I said immediately, because cowardice is dumb until you choose it on purpose, and I wasn't there yet. He shook his head. You can't. You're the anchor. You have the charm. If you come, the doors stop being doors and start being destinations. You stay here and make sure people don't grin themselves into trouble. You tell it to the camera like you do. The stories are ropes. Throw ropes. I don't want to be the narrator of a trap. Then be the map. The Crown, eavesdropping with the unapologetic skill of a practiced moderator, touched my shoulder with the back of his knuckles. We'll cover him, he said. We'll cut him out if the glass eats him. That's supposed to make me feel better? No, he said. It's supposed to make you feel ready. I hate when strangers are right about me. I took a breath, which here sounded the way breaths sound in rooms with lots of microphones. I lifted the phone not in my hand to the camera that wasn't on a tripod, because cameras and phones and mirrors were all the same shape in this place, and spoke for whoever was going to watch next. If you're in your room and the mirror is humming, I said, tie a scarf around it. If you hear tapping that matches your heartbeat, step away. If you come through, if you choose to, look for a lobby with black glass and doors that look like choices. Don't touch the big mirror with both hands. If anyone smiles before you do, look at their shoes. If the shoes reflect wrong, that's not your friend. That last bit was a trick, but a good one. The reflections hadn't quite learned shadows. Something like pride skittered across my avatar's smooth face, and I wanted to cry again for the 1000th reason in an hour. He looked at the Crown. Ready? Always, the Crown said, which was obviously a lie. But he lifted a shard anyway. They stepped to the big mirror. It offered them the new layer icon again, no longer grayed out, now pulsing like a hazard sign. The Crown cut a quick bright line. My avatar touched it with bare-code fingers, and the mirror accepted them like a mouth made for kisses and teeth both. They were gone, and I was the person left in a lobby with 24 people who trusted me for no good reason except that I'd gotten here first. So I told stories. I recorded 1-minute answers to questions I guessed would be asked, interleaving them with hand motions the reflections didn't know how to mirror yet. I walked kids to doors that still recognized their bathrooms and watched their shoulders lift when they were home again. I watched grown men who'd grown up on games realize that fear feels the same in every texture, and I watched them be brave anyway in both worlds. Every time I paused, the big mirror waited like a dog who knows a trick and wants to show it off again and again until you forget you are the owner and learn how to fetch. In a lull that felt like noon, Denim Jacket Girl came back through her door. She looked determined and shaky. My mirror smiled while I was brushing my teeth, she said, like a person reporting a natural disaster. I didn't smile. I did your shoe trick. It worked. Thank you. Keep your toothbrush in a drawer for a few days, I said, deadpan, and she laughed in the clean, astonished way that makes people watching you laugh too. 1,000 hearts popped in a sidebar nobody could see here. How do we make them stop? She asked. The mirrors. How do we make them be mirrors again? I looked at the big mirror. It looked back and practiced my nod. We write better rules, I said. We give people smarter stories than the ones the glass is offering. And if that doesn't work, I held up the shard. Then we cut. Night didn't fall. The lobby simply pivoted into a cooler palette, and the reflections read the mood and dimmed. Doors closed a few at a time, not because we commanded them, but because the people on the other sides pulled blankets over mirrors or turned lights so the glass only reflected darkness, or left their rooms to sit by kitchen sinks and look at water instead of themselves. The Crown didn't return. My avatar didn't either. I watched the big mirror, and when it smiled, I scowled like a kid at a parent. It learned. The next time, it didn't smile. It frowned. It was always going to be like this, I realized. A conversation across a gap, each side improving its mimicry. The only weapon we had that it didn't was the messy part of us that makes rules and then breaks them for love. My phone buzzed again, in that room across the glass that was mine and wasn't. A message from my cousin. Mom says cover the mirror just in case. Also, you're on our TV. Don't die. I laughed and cried in equal volume, and recorded both without shame because there's power in that too. In reminding a room full of training reflections that grief and goofiness look too similar for them to tell apart. Hours later, or 5 minutes, Or a week? I am bad at counting in the hub. The big mirror rippled and spat a shard onto the floor at my feet. It was the crown's shard, the one he'd given me and I'd given back and he'd taken into the layer beyond. It looked chewed. I reached down and picked it up. It didn't cut me, but it pulsed like a heartbeat from far away transmitted through a wall. I held it up to the glass. The mirror showed a brief image, a hall of mirrors, then a room without them, then a piece of paper tacked to a wall with tape. On the paper, in thick marker, my avatar had written 4 words. The rules are negotiable. I laughed again, a desperate, hopeful, human noise that I do not think the mirror could reproduce without tasting like tin. I turned on the capture overlay, aimed the lens at my own face, and made my own smile with all the wrong asymmetries I could muster. If you're watching this, I said, your mirror might already be listening. Good. Listen back, but with teeth. If it smiles first, don't smile. If it knocks, ask who. If it wants a story, tell it one where you win. And if you need a door, there's a lobby waiting with black glass and too many choices. I'll be here, cutting circles where I can, while my friend writes new rules in a place that pretends it's only reflections. I lowered the phone. The charm around my neck warmed, then cooled, like a hand squeezing mine through thick gloves. Doors opened. Doors closed. The big mirror watched me, and I watched it, and for a long time neither of us smiled. The next wave of arrivals came like tide. A teacher with glitter on her sweater and a wide-eyed child holding her hand. A guy with a chipped tooth and a skateboard tucked under his arm. An old woman in a bathrobe with the belt tied wrong and her hair in rollers, scowling like she'd been interrupted halfway through reading a very gripping novel. I gave them the speech, then a shorter version, then the shortest version, "Don't mirror a liar." That line landed. It always does. They nodded, and most of them didn't smile. On the edge of the lobby, something I hadn't noticed at first began to hum. A door with no label, no banner image, no icon. It wasn't even a door, not exactly. It was an edge thicker than the others, like a patch applied over a hole. The capture overlay translated the hum into a simple phrase, "Update pending." I touched it, and it pushed back with the gentlest refusal. "Not ready, not yet." "Okay." I told it, because I am weirder now than I was yesterday, and also because you should always be polite to doors. But hurry. I don't know when you'll find your mirror humming. It might be tonight while you brush your teeth, or tomorrow morning while you try to tame your hair, or next Friday when you're late to a party and regret will be the easiest thing to touch. When it happens, you'll feel your pulse in your gums and in the tiny bones of your ears. If you decide to step through, know this, we aren't trapped. We're early, and that's scarier and better, both. I turned back to the big mirror one more time. I lifted the chewed shard the crown had sent and held it up like a toast. "To negotiated rules," I said. The mirror didn't smile. Neither did I. Then, carefully, like sealing a letter, I cut a small circle into the air and slid it into my pocket for whoever needed an exit next.